I stared at the woman I was about to marry and realized she was streaming our wedding instead of saying her vows. The officiant stood frozen, one hand raised mid-gesture. 200 guests watched in uncomfortable silence as Mira angled her phone toward the stained glass window, whispering into the camera about golden hour and aesthetic goals. Her lips moved constantly, but none of the words were for me. "The lighting is absolutely perfect right now," she said, tilting her chin. "You guys, this is literally the most important day of my entire life, and I need to capture every single moment for you. As the story unfolds, take a moment to like, hit the hype button, subscribe, and write in the comments. Would you forgive her or walk away?" Miles leaned close to my shoulder. "Brother, are you seeing this?" I was. I had been seeing it for months. The constant filming, the staged conversations, the way she practiced her surprised face in the mirror before opening gifts I bought her. Every moment of our relationship had become content. Every private thing we shared got uploaded within an hour. "Start the car," I whispered back. Miles blinked. "What?" "Start the car. We're leaving." I turned and walked down the aisle. My footsteps echoed on the marble floor. Nobody moved. They probably thought I was having a moment, that I'd come back after collecting myself. The heavy wooden doors opened easily under my hands. September air hit my face, crisp and clean. Behind me, I heard Mira's voice rising in confusion, then annoyance, then something close to panic. "Wait, where's he going? Babe? Babe? Oh my God, you guys, hold on." I kept walking. Miles caught up to me in the parking lot, keys already in hand. We got into his truck and he started the engine. Through the rearview mirror, I watched guests spilling out of the church entrance, their phones raised, recording everything. Mira stood on the steps in her white dress, still holding her phone, still streaming, her face twisted in disbelief. "Where do you want to go?" Miles asked. "Anywhere that isn't here." He pulled out of the lot. I expected to feel something dramatic. Rage, maybe. Heartbreak. Instead, I felt light. For the first time in 8 months, I could breathe without wondering if someone was filming it. Miles drove for 20 minutes before speaking again. "You planned that." I didn't plan anything, I just knew I couldn't say I do, while she was asking strangers online if her makeup looked okay. Man, that was the coldest exit I've ever seen. You didn't yell, didn't make a scene, just walked. What was the point of yelling? She wouldn't have heard me over her own voice. We ended up at a diner off Route 20, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since morning. I ordered eggs and toast. Miles got a burger. We sat there while my phone vibrated until its battery was almost drained on the table between us. 43 messages from Mira, 17 from her mother, 9 from people I barely knew asking what happened. I turned the phone face down. "You gonna read those?" Miles asked. "Eventually, not now." She's probably losing her mind. She's probably streaming about losing her mind. Miles almost choked on his soda. "You think?" I know. I was right. By the time we finished eating, Mira had already posted a 12-minute video titled, "My Fiancée Left Me at the Altar, Story Time." I didn't watch it. Miles showed me the thumbnail, her crying into the camera with the church blurred behind her. "She's at 60,000 views," he said. "Good for her." "You're really not upset?" "I'm upset I almost married someone who treated our wedding like content. But no, the views don't bother me. That's what she always wanted." We drove back to my house, the one I'd bought years ago and renovated slowly. Mira had moved in 6 months earlier, and now the place looked like a studio. String lights, a ring light in the living room, a filming corner with a backdrop, and shelves of PR products. "You want me to stay?" Miles asked. "No, I need to think. Call me if you need anything. Even if it's 3 in the morning and you want to go set something on fire." "We're not setting anything on fire." "Offer still stands." After he left, the house felt too quiet. I tried to pinpoint when things had gone wrong. We met 2 years ago at a barbecue. She was funny, smart, and didn't mention social media at all. The first time she filmed us, it seemed harmless. Cute, even. But it wasn't sharing. It was performing. By month 4, she wanted to redo conversations because the lighting wasn't right. By month 6, she got annoyed when I refused to film our mornings. By month 8, she quit her marketing job because her follower count hit 50,000 and brands were sending her freebies. I proposed because I thought I loved her. Maybe I did. But somewhere between then and the wedding, I realized she never stopped performing. Even in private moments, I could see her calculating the angle, the caption, the audience reaction. I should have ended it sooner. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. I answered. Indigo Reller? Speaking. This is Janet Hollis. I'm a reporter with the Daily Observer. I was hoping to ask you a few questions about what happened today at your wedding. I hung up. The calls kept coming. After blocking 6 numbers, I finally turned the phone off and opened my laptop. Something I should have done months ago. I checked our joint bank account, the one meant for rent and groceries. What I found instead made my jaw lock. Recurring charges to Creator Academy Pro, $400 a month for 5 months. Payments to Influence Hub for premium creator courses. A single $2,000 charge for a VIP mentorship program. I looked up Creator Academy Pro. The homepage showed a man in a suit in front of a mansion. Forrest Calder, from 0 to 7 figures in 2 years. Mira watched his videos constantly. She quoted him like scripture. Forrest says optimize every moment. Forrest says authenticity is a brand strategy. Forrest says regular people don't understand creators. I checked our statements again. She'd bought the mid-tier program, $5,000 total. Paid with my savings, money I'd set aside for the honeymoon, the house, our life. I opened her social media profile. She had 82,000 followers now, the usual curated posts. But under tagged photos, I found something. A picture from 3 weeks ago. Mira at a conference, standing beside Forrest himself, his arm around her shoulders. Her caption read, "Dreams come true when you invest in yourself." Thank you, Forrest. 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks before our wedding, I checked Forrest's account. 2 million followers, luxury cars, private jets, link in bio, DM me ready, the usual hustle guru routine. One video from 2 months ago caught my attention. How to upgrade your circle, removing unhelpful connections. In it, Forrest jogged along a beach. I removed everyone who wasn't adding value, friends, family, even relationships. You can't soar with eagles if you're surrounded by chickens. Mira's comment was beneath it. Sometimes you have to be selfish to be successful. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark until the house stopped creaking. Then I stood, gathered her things, and started packing. Not to destroy anything, just to remove the performance set she'd built inside my home. Clothes, ring light, backdrop, PR products. 14 boxes by the door when I finished. I changed the locks, removed her from my phone plan, closed the joint account, and transferred what was left to mine alone. Then I called a lawyer. Miles had recommended Richard Pine, who picked up despite it being nearly midnight. After I explained everything, he said, "I'm sorry you're dealing with this. The good news is you weren't legally married, so the separation is simple. The money she spent may be recoverable if you can prove you didn't agree to those charges." "I can prove it." "Excellent. I'll need copies of all the statements and any communication you have about those purchases. We'll also want to document everything she took from the residence and make sure there's a clear record of who owns what." "She didn't take anything. I packed it for her." "Even better. Hold on to those boxes. Photograph everything inside them. If she claims you kept anything of hers, you'll have proof you didn't." We talked for another 20 minutes about next steps, paperwork, timelines. Richard was efficient and calm, and by the time we hung up, I had a clear plan forward. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, Mira showed up at 7. I heard her key scraping against the new lock, trying to get in. When it didn't work, she started knocking, then pounding. "Indigo! Open this door! We need to talk!" I opened it. She looked terrible, yesterday's makeup still smudged on her face, her hair tangled, her wedding dress wrinkled and stained at the hem. She held her phone in one hand, camera facing me. "Are you seriously filming right now?" I asked. "My followers deserve to know what's happening." "Your followers?" "Right." I gestured to the stack of boxes behind me. "Your stuff is packed. Take it whenever you want." She stared at the boxes, then at me. "You can't just kick me out. I live here." "You lived here. Past tense. The lease is in my name. I bought this house. You were a guest, and now you're not." "This is insane. You left our wedding because I was sharing our special day with people who care about us. You left our wedding the moment you chose strangers on the internet over the person standing in front of you. I just made it official." "I can't believe you're being this cruel." "Cruel would have been staying and pretending everything was fine. This is just honest." She started crying. Real tears this time, not performed ones. "Please, can we just talk about this? Without the camera?" I waited. She lowered her phone slowly, like it physically hurt to do so. "I know I messed up yesterday. The live streaming thing was too much. But you have to understand, my whole career depends on engagement. If I go dark for too long, the algorithm buries me. My followers forget about me. Everything I've built disappears. Then build something real instead. This is real. This is my job." "No, this is an addiction, and I'm not going to be part of it anymore." "Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not my problem anymore. But for what it's worth, maybe try calling Forrest Calder. I'm sure he has advice for situations like this. He seems to have advice for everything." Her face changed. Guilt flashed across it so quickly I almost missed it. "What are you talking about?" "I saw the pictures, Mira. I saw the bank statements. $5,000 for his programs. I saw your comments on his videos. I saw everything. That was for my career. He's a mentor. Mentors don't usually pose for photos with their students like that. And they definitely don't post videos about cutting people out of your life right before you sabotage your own wedding. You're being paranoid. I'm being observant. There's a difference." She grabbed one of the boxes, her movements sharp and angry. "Fine. You want me gone? I'm gone. But everyone is going to know what kind of person you really are. Controlling, jealous, small-minded. You couldn't handle that I was becoming successful. Success isn't measured in follower counts and free products, but you'll figure that out eventually." She hauled the box to her car. It took her 6 trips to get everything loaded. I watched from the doorway, making sure she didn't try to take anything that wasn't hers. On her last trip, she stopped in front of me. "You're going to regret this." "I already regret it. I regret not seeing who you really were sooner." She drove away. I closed the door and locked it. Then I opened my laptop and went back to Forrest Calder's profile. He'd posted a new video an hour ago. The title was "Staying Focused During Life's Storms." In it, he talked about dealing with haters and people who didn't understand the creator mindset. He mentioned having to distance himself from negative energy lately. The comments were supportive. "You're so strong. Don't let them bring you down. Real ones know your value." But buried in the middle of the comments, I found one that made me stop scrolling. "Anyone else notice Mira Callan in the background of his last training webinar? Interesting choice of students." I clicked on the commenter's profile. It led me to a forum dedicated to calling out influencer drama. There, I found a thread about Forrest Calder with 40 pages of responses. People talking about his overpriced courses that delivered generic advice. Students saying they'd been promised personal coaching, but only got automated emails. Complaints about refunds being denied. And screenshots, Lots of screenshots. One showed Forrest at a private event 3 months ago. Mira was visible in the background, laughing at something he'd said. Another showed them leaving a restaurant together 5 weeks before my wedding. A third was a text conversation someone had leaked from Forrest's supposed VIP group chat, where he talked about recruiting engaged women because they're more desperate to prove they're still attractive. I felt cold. I downloaded every screenshot, every complaint, every piece of evidence I could find. Then I organized it all into a folder on my desktop. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew I'd need it eventually. My phone rang. Miles. "You alive?" he asked. "More or less." "Mira's posting videos about you. Thought you should know." "Let me guess. I'm the villain." "Oh, you're not just the villain. You're apparently an emotionally abusive nightmare who controlled everything she did and finally snapped when she tried to share her happiness with the world. Sounds about right. You're not worried? Should I be?" "I don't know, man. She's got a lot of followers. They're starting to come after you pretty hard in the comments. They can come after me all they want. I know the truth." "Yeah, but the truth doesn't always matter on the internet." "Then I'll make it matter." I hung up and checked Mira's profile. Sure enough, 3 new videos, all of them about our relationship, about yesterday, about me. She cried in every single one. Her followers ate it up. Thousands of comments calling me names, saying I deserved to be alone, hoping I'd realize what I'd lost. But a few comments were different. "This doesn't add up. Why would someone who's abusive just walk away quietly?" "I've been following you for years, Mira, and something changed about 6 months ago. You used to post about your job and your friends, and now it's just products and courses and this Forrest Calder guy. Anyone else think it's weird she was live streaming her own wedding?" Those comments got buried fast, but I screenshot them anyway, added them to my folder. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I watched one of Forrest's training webinars. The free preview was 30 minutes long. He spent the entire time talking about building your brand and maximizing your reach and creating multiple revenue streams. It was all surface-level stuff, nothing I couldn't have learned from a $10 book. But the way he talked was interesting, confident, magnetic. He had this way of making you feel like you were part of an exclusive club just by watching his content. Like you'd discovered something special that regular people didn't understand. I could see why Mira fell for it. The webinar ended with a pitch for his premium program. "Spots are limited," he said, leaning into the camera. "I can only work with people who are serious about changing their lives. If you're ready to invest in yourself, click the link below. But don't wait. This offer expires in 24 hours. The link was probably always available. The timer was probably always counting down. But people believed it, including Mira, including the $5,000 she'd spent from our joint account. I checked his tour schedule. He was doing a live seminar in Boston next month. Forrest Calder Live, the Success Blueprint. Tickets started at $200. VIP packages with a meet and greet were $1,000. Boston was 40 minutes from my house. I bought a ticket. Standard admission, nothing fancy. I wasn't going there to meet him. I was going there to understand him, to see how someone builds an empire selling smoke and mirrors to desperate people looking for shortcuts. But first, I needed to deal with the immediate problem. Mira was still posting about me. Her follower count had jumped to 90,000 in 2 days. She'd become the sympathetic victim, the woman scorned at her own wedding by a terrible man. And people believed her because she was pretty, and she cried on camera, and she knew exactly how to frame the narrative. I could fight back. I could post my own videos, share my own side. But that would just turn into a war of who could cry more convincingly on camera. And I'd lose that war because I wasn't interested in performing. So instead, I stayed quiet. I went back to work, taking repair calls and fixing broken pipes and rewiring faulty electrical systems. People asked me about the wedding. I told them it didn't work out and left it at that. Most people respected the boundary. A few pushed for details. I gave them nothing. Miles came by at the end of the week with pizza and beer. We sat in my garage while I worked on replacing the brakes on his truck. "You're handling this whole thing weird," he said. "How should I be handling it?" "I don't know. More angry, more sad, more something. You're acting like nothing happened." Something happened. I acknowledged it. Now I'm moving forward. "You're not even a little bit pissed about all those people online calling you names?" "Why would I be pissed? They don't know me. They're reacting to a story someone told them. That's not my problem." Miles took a long drink of his beer. "You've changed, brother. You used to care what people thought." "I cared too much. That's part of why I ended up in this situation. I kept trying to make Mira happy, even when it meant being unhappy myself. I kept thinking if I just supported her enough, she'd remember why we were together in the first place. But she never did, because she wasn't together with me. She was together with her phone, and I was just a prop in the background." "That's dark." "That's honest." He was quiet for a minute. "So what now? You just move on? Find someone new?" "Eventually, maybe. Right now I'm focused on making sure this doesn't happen again, to me or anyone else." "What does that mean?" I told him about Forrest, about the courses and the webinars and the upcoming seminar, about the folder of evidence I'd been collecting. Miles listened without interrupting. When I finished, he set down his beer. "You're planning something." "I'm considering options." "Indigo. Whatever you're thinking, be careful. That guy has 2 million followers. He has lawyers. He has money. If you go after him, he'll bury you." "Maybe. Or maybe he's just really good at looking successful while selling courses on how to look successful. Maybe his whole empire is built on people being too afraid to call him out." "And you're not afraid?" "Of what?" "He already took my fiancée. He already convinced her to spend my money on his worthless programs. He already helped destroy my relationship. What else can he do to me?" Miles didn't have an answer for that. The weeks passed. Mira's posting slowed down as the algorithm moved on to the next drama. Her follower count plateaued. She'd gotten her 15 minutes of sympathy, but now people wanted new content, and she didn't have any. The wedding disaster was old news. I watched from a distance, not engaging, just observing. Then one night, I got a notification. Forrest had posted a video. The title was, "Why I Had to Block Someone from My Community." I clicked play. He sat in what looked like an expensive office, bookshelves behind him, soft lighting making him look professional and trustworthy. "This is hard for me to talk about," he began, his expression serious. "But I think it's important to be transparent with all of you. Recently, I had to remove someone from one of my programs. This person became obsessed with one of my students. When that student ended her relationship and started focusing on building her brand, this person blamed me. He's been harassing her online, spreading lies, trying to damage both of our reputations. He was talking about me. I want to be clear," Forrest continued. "I don't tolerate harassment in my community. We're here to lift each other up, not tear each other down. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, please know that it's okay to cut toxic people out of your life. Your success depends on surrounding yourself with positive energy. Don't let anyone dim your light." The video had 50,000 views. Comments poured in about how brave he was for speaking out, how terrible I must be, how glad they were he protected his community. Not one person questioned his version of events. I screenshot the whole thing, added it to my folder. Then I checked the calendar. The Boston seminar was in 3 days. I sent Miles a text. "Remember when you said I should be more angry? I think I'm ready now." He responded immediately, "What are you going to do?" "Something I should have done a month ago. I'm going to stop being quiet." The seminar was held at a hotel convention center downtown. I arrived early, dressed in jeans and a plain black shirt. Nothing fancy. I wanted to blend in. The lobby was full of people wearing name tags and holding notebooks. They were mostly young, mostly women, all of them buzzing with excited energy. I heard fragments of conversations as I walked past. I've been following Forrest for 2 years. I can't believe I'm finally meeting him. I saved up for 6 months to afford the VIP package. My boyfriend thinks this is stupid, but he doesn't understand the creator mindset. I found my seat in the main conference room. Middle row, center aisle, good view of the stage. Around me, people set up their phones on mini tripods, ready to film every moment. The air smelled like coffee and expensive perfume. At exactly 10 o'clock, the lights dimmed. Music started playing, something energetic and motivational. A voice came over the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to transform your life? Are you ready to break through your limitations and step into your full potential? Then please welcome to the stage the man who went from broke and broken to millionaire mentor in less than 3 years. Give it up for Forrest Calder. The crowd erupted. Forrest walked on stage wearing a perfectly tailored suit, his smile wide, his arms raised like he'd just won a championship. He soaked in the applause for a full minute before gesturing for quiet. "Thank you," he said, his voice smooth and practiced. "Thank you so much. Man, it is so good to see all of you here today. You know what your presence tells me? It tells me you're serious. It tells me you're not like everyone else sitting at home making excuses. You're here. You showed up. You invested in yourself, and that's the first step to everything." More applause. I sat still, watching. For the next hour, Forrest talked about his journey, how he'd been working a stagnant job making $40,000 a year, how he'd been stuck and depressed and going nowhere, how he'd discovered the power of personal branding and decided to bet everything on himself, how he'd built his first course in his apartment, sold it for $97, and made $10,000 in the first month. "That $10,000 changed my life," he said, pacing the stage. "Not because of the money, because of what it represented. It represented freedom, control, the ability to wake up every morning and choose my own path. And I want that for all of you. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm standing here today." It was a good speech. Inspiring even. If I didn't know what I knew, I might have believed him. He moved into the main content. Tips on building an audience, creating content, monetizing your platform. It was all basic stuff, repackaged common sense sold as exclusive secrets. But the audience ate it up. They took notes frantically, nodding along, recording everything. During a break, I walked to the bathroom and found Mira in the hallway. She was talking to another woman, both of them holding those expensive green smoothies that cost $12. She saw me and froze. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Same thing everyone else is, learning from the master." "You need to leave." "I bought a ticket. I have as much right to be here as you do." The other woman looked between us, confused. Mira forced a smile. "Can you give us a minute?" The woman walked away. Mira stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If you cause a scene, I'll call security." "I'm not here to cause a scene. I'm here to listen." "To Forrest?" "To everything, including the things people don't say out loud." She looked nervous. "You're acting weird." "I'm acting like someone who finally sees clearly. You should try it sometime." I walked past her back into the conference room. She didn't follow. The afternoon session was about overcoming obstacles and dealing with criticism. Forrest talked about haters and doubters and people who didn't understand the journey. He told a story about having to cut a friend out of his life because that friend was negative and constantly questioned his choices. "Sometimes the people closest to you will be the ones who hold you back the most," Forrest said. "They're comfortable with you staying small because your growth makes them feel bad about themselves. But here's what I learned. You can't worry about making other people comfortable. Your job is to become the best version of yourself, and if that means leaving people behind, then that's what you do." I raised my hand. Forrest looked surprised. "Yes? You have a question?" I stood up. Everyone turned to look at me. I kept my voice calm and even. "How do you define the difference between cutting out toxic people and just abandoning anyone who questions you? Because from the outside, Those two things can look pretty similar. The room went quiet. Forrest's smile stayed fixed, but his eyes hardened. That's an interesting question. I'd say the difference is intent. Toxic people want to keep you stuck because they benefit from your struggle. People who genuinely care about you might question your methods, but they support your growth. You have to learn to tell the difference. And what if someone questions whether your methods actually produce the results you promise? Are they toxic, or are they just asking for accountability? His smile faded slightly. I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm asking a direct question. How many of your students actually achieve the level of success you've achieved? What's the percentage? Success looks different for everyone. Some people want to make a full-time income. Others just want side money. The program works if you work the program. That's not an answer. A security guard started moving toward my row. Forrest held up a hand, stopping him. No, it's okay. This is good. This is exactly the kind of limiting belief we need to address. Sir, what's your name? Indigo. I watched recognition flash across his face. He recovered quickly, but I'd seen it. Indigo, I get it. You're skeptical. That's natural. But let me ask you something. What have you accomplished by being skeptical? Has it made you successful? Has it made you happy? It's kept me from spending $5,000 on generic advice I could get for free from a library book. The room erupted in uncomfortable murmuring. Phones turned toward me, recording. Forrest's expression went cold. If you're here to disrupt my event, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm here because I paid for a ticket, and so far, you haven't said anything worth the $200 I spent. You've just told stories about yourself and given basic advice while convincing people they need to pay more money to get the real secrets, which makes me wonder if there are any real secrets, or if this whole thing is just a very expensive motivational speech. Security reached my row. 2 guards, both big, both serious. Forrest pointed at me. Remove him, now! I didn't resist. I let them escort me out of the conference room, down the hall, and into the lobby. People stared. Phones followed my exit. I smiled at every camera I saw. Outside, I walked to my truck and sat in the driver's seat. My hands were shaking slightly. Not from fear, from adrenaline, from finally saying out loud what I'd been thinking for weeks. My phone started buzzing immediately. Messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Notifications from social media platforms I barely used. Within an hour, someone had posted the video of my confrontation with Forrest. It spread fast. Man disrupts Forrest Calder seminar with accusations. Hater crashes success event, gets kicked out. Forrest Calder handles difficult audience member with grace. But buried in the comments, I found something interesting. Other voices. Quieter voices. People saying they'd been to Forrest's seminars and felt the same way. People who'd spent thousands on his programs and gotten nothing but automated emails and generic webinars. People who'd started to question whether Forrest was actually successful or just good at looking successful. I spent the rest of the day reading those comments. Screenshot every single one. Added them to my folder, which was now massive. Complaints, testimonies, leaked conversations, evidence of promised refunds that never came through. And then I found the most interesting thing of all. A website called Creator Truth. A forum where people exposed fake gurus and scam artists in the online business space. Forrest had an entire section dedicated to him. 47 pages of complaints, stories from students who'd maxed out credit cards for his programs, screenshots of emails where Forrest promised personal coaching but never delivered, records of fake testimonials he'd posted on his site. Someone had even tracked down his actual business filings. His company had only been registered for 18 months. His claims about building a 7-figure business in 2 years were questionable at best. The mansion he always filmed in front of? A rental property he used for a few hours a month. The luxury cars? Also rentals. Forrest Calder wasn't a success story. He was a performance artist who'd figured out how to monetize desperation. I downloaded everything. Then I started making phone calls. The first was to Richard Pine, my lawyer. I need to know the legal implications of exposing fraud. What kind of fraud? I explained everything I'd found. Richard listened carefully. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. If what you're telling me is accurate and you can prove it, you're not exposing fraud. You're reporting it. There's a difference. Fraud exposure is protected speech as long as you stick to facts and evidence. You can't make things up or embellish. But if you have documentation of false claims, fake testimonials, and failure to deliver promised services, sharing that information is not only legal, it's arguably a public service. What about defamation? Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. If everything you say is provably true, he can't successfully sue you for saying it. Now, he might still try to sue you to intimidate you into silence. That's called a slap suit. But those are costly to pursue and rarely succeed. So, I can share what I found? You can. But Indigo, be absolutely certain everything you share is documented and true. One false claim could undermine everything else. Everything I have is screenshot, saved, backed up in 3 places. Then legally you're clear. Ethically, that's your call. But from a pure legal standpoint, you're within your rights to share factual information about a public figure selling products to consumers. I thanked him and hung up. The second call was to Miles. I need your help with something. Name it. I need to edit a video. What kind of video? The kind that ends careers. He showed up at my house an hour later with his laptop. We sat at my kitchen table and started going through the footage and evidence I'd collected. Miles was better with editing software than I was. He knew how to make things clear and compelling without being dramatic. We worked through the night. By morning, we had a 15-minute video that laid out everything: Forrest's fake credentials, his empty promises, his rental mansion and cars, his failure to deliver actual coaching despite charging thousands for it. We included testimony from former students who'd agreed to go on record. We showed leaked emails and messages. We proved, point by point, that Forrest Calder was selling a fantasy. The last thing we added was the clip of him telling that student to upgrade her circle and remove unhelpful connections, followed by screenshots of Mira's comments agreeing with him, followed by pictures of them together before my wedding. We didn't say he'd specifically targeted her. We didn't need to. The implication was clear enough. "This is nuclear," Miles said, watching the final cut. "You release this. There's no going back." "Good. I don't want to go back. He's going to come after you. Let him try. Mira's going to lose it. She already lost it. This just makes it official." Miles saved the file to a flash drive and handed it to me. "Your call, brother. But for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Guys like Forrest destroy people, and nobody ever stops them because everyone's too scared or embarrassed. Someone needs to shine a light on this stuff." I took the flash drive. "Thanks for helping. That's what friends are for." After Miles left, I sat with the flash drive for a long time. This was my decision point. Once I uploaded that video, everything changed. Forrest would know who I was. Mira would know what I'd done. The internet would have opinions. Some people would call me a hero. Others would call me vindictive and petty. But none of that mattered as much as the truth. I uploaded the video to a new account. No personal information, just the facts. I titled it, "The Real Forrest Calder, a Warning to Anyone Considering His Programs." Then I posted it to the Creator Truth Forum, and I went to bed. By the next morning, the video had been viewed 50,000 times. By afternoon, 200,000. By evening, it was trending. People started sharing it everywhere. Discussion threads exploded. Journalists picked it up. A few YouTubers made response videos breaking down the evidence. Forrest tried to respond. He posted a video calling me a disgruntled hater who was jealous of his success. But people noticed he didn't actually address any of the specific evidence. He just attacked my character and moved on. That made people more suspicious. Then Mira posted a video defending him. She cried and said Forrest had helped her more than anyone, that the accusations were false, that people were just trying to tear down successful people. But her comment section turned on her immediately. Why are you defending him when there's literal proof? Girl, he used you. Wake up. You spent $5,000 of your fiancé's money on this guy and destroyed your relationship. Maybe sit this one out. She deleted the video within an hour. Meanwhile, more students came forward. People who'd been too embarrassed to speak up before suddenly felt brave enough to share their stories. The Creator Truth Forum crashed from too much traffic. News sites started investigating. Someone found court records showing Forrest had been sued twice for failure to deliver services. Another person found his old social media profiles from before he became a guru, showing him working a regular job with no signs of the success story he claimed. The empire started collapsing. Forrest posted a statement saying he was taking a break from social media to focus on his mental health. His course sales page went down. His website stopped accepting new students. Brands that had sponsored him started quietly removing their posts. 2 weeks later, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "We need to talk." I opened it. Indigo, this is Forrest. I know what you did. I know you're responsible for the video. We need to meet face to face and resolve this like adults. I'm willing to make this worth your while if you take the video down and post a retraction. Name your price. I read it 3 times. Then I screenshot it and added it to my folder. I replied, "No thanks, but good luck with everything." He responded within minutes. "You don't understand who you're dealing with. I have lawyers. I have resources. I will bury you in legal fees even if I don't win. Is this really worth it?" I typed back, "Yes, because you hurt people and convinced them it was their fault for not working hard enough. You took their money and gave them nothing. You destroyed relationships and called it upgrading. Someone needed to stop you. It might as well be me." His final response came an hour later. "You'll regret this." I never replied. 3 days after that exchange, Forrest announced he was canceling his remaining tour dates and shutting down his coaching programs permanently. He posted a long statement about needing to reevaluate his brand and focus on creating free content instead of paid programs. He didn't apologize. He didn't admit wrongdoing. But he stopped. Mira tried to pivot. She started posting about healing and growth and learning from mistakes. Her follower count dropped to 60,000, then 50, then stabilized around 45. The algorithm had moved on. She was yesterday's drama. She got a part-time job at a marketing agency. She stopped mentioning Forrest. She stopped mentioning me. I went back to my normal life. Fixed pipes and wiring and broken appliances, saved my money, thought about what I wanted to do next. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't planning around someone else. I was just existing on my own terms. Then one night, 6 weeks after everything went down, I got a message on my phone from a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Reller, my name is Diana Torres. I'm a journalist with the Boston Herald. I've been following the Forrest Calder situation, and I'd like to interview you for a story I'm writing about fake gurus and the people who expose them. Would you be willing to talk?" I thought about it. Talking meant stepping forward. It meant putting my face to the story. It meant people knowing exactly who I was and what I'd done. No more anonymity. No more quiet revenge. But it also meant making sure Forrest couldn't quietly rebuild once people forgot about the scandal. It meant preventing the next Mira from spending her next fiancé's money on empty promises. It meant turning my anger into something useful. I replied, "Yes. Let's talk." We met at a coffee shop downtown. Diana was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and a recorder she set on the table between us. She asked me to tell her everything from the beginning. So I did. I told her about the wedding, about finding the bank statements, about the forums and the evidence, about the seminar confrontation, about the video. I showed her my folder of documentation, every screenshot and complaint and leaked conversation. She took notes carefully, asking clarifying questions, making sure she understood the timeline. When I finished, she sat back. This is bigger than I thought. Do you realize how many people you've probably saved from losing their money? I wasn't trying to save anyone. I was trying to make sure he couldn't do to someone else what he did to me. Sometimes those are the same thing. The article came out a week later, front page, how one man's wedding disaster exposed $1 million scam. It was fair and brutal. Diana had found even more victims, former employees who admitted they'd been told to fake testimonials, and lawyers who confirmed Forrest's operation was fraudulent. The story went viral. National news picked it up. Forrest's accounts disappeared, his LLC dissolved, and a class action lawsuit began. I wasn't part of it, but I sent the lawyers my evidence. Mira texted once, "Are you happy now?" I replied, "I'm not happy or unhappy, just done." She never answered. Life settled again. Work increased. Some people wanted the story, others just needed repairs. Either way, it was steady, normal. One Friday, Miles came by with beer and pizza like old times. We sat in my garage, avoiding any mention of Mira or Forrest, talking about sports, movies, and his truck. "You seem better," he finally said. "I am better." "You gonna start dating again?" "Maybe eventually. Right now, I'm just enjoying not having to perform for anyone." "That's fair." He paused. "You know what I respect about how you handled all this?" "What?" "You didn't get loud. You didn't throw things or make scenes or act crazy. You just quietly collected evidence and then dropped a bomb when you were ready. That's ruthless in the most effective way." I learned something important through all this. "What's that?" "Anger doesn't have to be hot. Sometimes the coldest revenge is just telling the truth and letting it work." "That's almost philosophical." "Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to maintain." We laughed. It felt good, normal. That night, after Miles left, I sat on the porch under the stars. The house was quiet, the phone silent. No cameras, no performance, just me. For the first time in years, I felt I could breathe. I'd lost a fiancé in 2 years of my life, but I'd gotten myself back, the version that didn't tolerate being a prop in someone else's show. Forrest's empire was gone. Mira's spotlight faded. The algorithm moved on. And me? I was home, doing real work, with my peace and dignity restored. I walked out of that church alone. I walked back into my life stronger. And that was enough.